What's up, Bills Mafia? Hope you're all doing great today because we've got something big to talk about. Listen, we know this 2025 offseason has been all about refinement, retooling, and getting better in every corner of the roster. Whether it's locking in our core, shaking up the wide receiver room, or strengthening the trenches, this team has made it clear. We're all in for a Super Bowl run, but even after all that movement, the work might not be done just yet before we dive into today's story. Go ahead and smash that like button to support the channel. It helps spread our content to more diehard Bills fans. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our insider coverage, analysis, or bold takes. Alright, let's get to it, because today we're talking about two names that could still help the Bills, and both come with history, risk, and major upside. CJ Mosley and Amari Cooper. Yep. Two veterans, one on defense, one on offense, both tied to the Bills in recent rumors. Let's break it down piece by piece and talk about whether these moves make sense or if they'd be major mistakes. So first off, let's take a moment to recognize the progress. This roster has taken some hits, yes, but Brandon Beane has been cooking. You locked in Josh Allen's protection. You got younger in the secondary. You added youth and juice to the wide receiver room, especially with Kellen Coleman. You re-signed key leaders and shored up the locker room vibe. But even with all those upgrades, two positional question marks remain. Linebacker depth too. Wide receiver firepower. Let's tackle the linebacker situation first, and why CJ Mosley's name is being floated by analysts as a possible fit. Analytics expert Mason Cameron from Pro Football Focus recently dropped a list of moves each NFL team should consider before the start of the season. And his pick for Buffalo, the Bills could use some veteran help at linebacker. Former division rival CJ Mosley could be the answer. Wait, let that sink in. CJ Mosley, the same guy who anchored the middle of the Jets' defense for the past 6 years. The guy we've game planned around, battled in the trenches, and cursed at through the screen more than a few times. And now, there's talk he could wear red, white, and blue. Here's the logic behind the idea. Matt Milano is still a stud, but let's be honest, his injury history has started to pile up. Terrell Bernard showed promise but regressed a bit last season, finishing with a 48.1 PFF grade. Baylon Spector hasn't made the leap either, sitting under 46.0 PFF in both seasons. That's not ideal, especially when you're trying to take down Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. So the idea of bringing in a 5-time Pro Bowler who once earned an 82.9 PFF grade in his last full season, that's tempting. But there's a catch. CJ Mosley is 32 years old, and last season, he only played 4 games due to neck and toe injuries. That's a big red flag for a front office that's made it clear. They're trying to get younger, faster, and more durable across the board. Do you really want to take a chance on an aging vet with a recent history of injuries to back up a guy like Milano, who's also missed significant time? That's the big question. If Mosley's healthy, no doubt, he brings leadership, experience, and physicality. He's battle-tested and still sharp. But if he breaks down, you're right back where you started, with questions at linebacker and precious cap space burned. So, high reward, high risk. Now let's flip the script and go back to the offensive side, because there's another rumor bubbling up. Could the Bills reunite with Amari Cooper? Crazy, right? Let's revisit the story. Buffalo traded for Cooper last year midway through the season, giving up a 2025 third-round pick and a 2026 seventh to get him from the Browns. They also received a 2025 sixth-rounder back. The go, make. Cooper, Josh Allen's top target heading into the playoffs, but it didn't quite go as planned. 20 catches, 297 yards, 2 touchdowns in 8 games, solid numbers, but nowhere near WR1 production. The chemistry just wasn't there. The fit didn't feel natural. And the offense continued to lean on guys like Stephon Diggs, Dalton Kincaid, and even shaking down the stretch. So Buffalo pivoted and let Cooper walk. End of story, right? Maybe not. Enter Aaron Schatz from ESPN, who stirred the pot this week with his comment. General Manager Brandon Beane might be okay with the wide receiver depth, but it's not optimal. Translation: the door to an Amari Cooper reunion still cracked. Open! Look, Cooper isn't the Pro Bowl monster he once was, but he's still a savvy route runner with good hands and red zone experience. And with this WR group being promising but still unproven behind Keon Coleman, a little veteran depth might not hurt, especially if the goal is to keep Josh Allen loaded for a Super Bowl run. So let's get real now. Could these two rumored moves, CJ Mosley on defense, Amari Cooper on offense, actually help the Bills win now? Here's the argument for both. Mosley brings discipline, awareness, and championship mentality to a linebacker. Room that's lacked consistency. If healthy, he's an instant upgrade behind Milano and Bernard. Cooper, while not WR1 anymore, can still be a dependable option on third downs and add some depth in case Coleman or Kincaid aren't ready to shoulder the full load. But here's the counterpoint. Both are older, coming off injuries, and might not fit the long-term direction the Bills are building toward. The Bills have already added youth at both positions and may prefer to ride with their guys rather than disrupt the development pipeline. It's a delicate balance. Win now versus build smart. And when you're chasing the Chiefs, every move has to be a home run. Let's talk about what's heating up right now. Rasul Douglas, yes, the same Rasul who made a huge impact in our secondary in 2023 is still sitting in free agency. And Bills fans, we might want to buckle up because this situation could get ugly. After we drafted Maxwell Hairston out of Kentucky, who, by the way, I think is a future baller, the writing seemed to be on the wall. The front office made their pick, and Douglas was quietly left out of the plans. But here's the kicker. Nobody knows what Hairston's going to bring in year one. He's talented, no doubt, but he's raw. Starting him right away in a high-pressure defense that's trying to win now, that's risky. Meanwhile, Douglas, who's still just 29, is sitting there waiting. And just this week, Pro Football Focus Mason Cameron dropped a bombshell. Our prediction, he thinks Douglas might betray Buffalo by signing with none other than the Miami Dolphins. Now, I know that's not what we want to hear, but let's look at the logic. The Dolphins run a cover 2 heavy scheme, 3rd highest rate in the league last year. And guess what? Douglas thrives in cover 2. In 2023, his PFF grade in that scheme was a very respectable 74.4, even after a rocky year. Yeah, it wasn't his best season overall. He allowed a 72.9% completion rate and gave up a brutal 122.0 passer rating when targeted. That's not great, no sugarcoating. But rewind a bit to that red-hot second half he had with us in 2023. He was dominant, locking guys down, posting a 51.3% completion rate allowed and a freakishly low 38.6 passer rating in 6 games. That's elite cornerback play, folks. And here's the real danger. Miami's CB room is a mess right now. Jalen Ramsey is reportedly on the trade block, and beyond that, nothing but question marks. Douglas may not be a flashy signing for them, but he'd be a veteran leader, a stopgap. And let's be honest, a thorn in our side. Miami has the cap space, $16.5 million to be exact. They can throw him a 1-year deal at a discount price, give him a starting role, and oh yeah, 2 chances next season to get revenge on the team that let him walk. You can already picture it, right? Sunday Night Football, Bills versus Dolphins, and Rasul picks off Josh Allen? Brutal, just brutal. So here's the $1 million question. Should the Bills just go ahead and bring him back? Let's think about our current situation. Tre'Davious White, gone. Christian Benford and Kyer Elam, talented but inconsistent. Maxwell Hairston, still a mystery. Taron Johnson is a stud at nickel, no doubt, but we need more veteran depth on the outside. Bill Douglas knows this system. He knows the expectations. He was loved in the locker room. And even in a down year, he's still better than a lot of what's out there. Plus, we're talking cheap. He's not going to sniff that $35 million deal. Spotrac projected for him a year ago. The market just isn't there. This could be a classic 1-year, prove-it deal that works for both sides. Now, I get it. Brandon Beane is trying to get younger, more durable, and he's looking at long-term value. But this team has one job this year: get to the Super Bowl. And that means filling every hole with battle-tested talent. And Bills Mafia, let's just be real with each other. Watching Rasul Douglas wear aqua and orange, watching him celebrate a pick 6 against us in Hard Rock Stadium, that's going to sting bad. This isn't just about football. It's about pride. It's about loyalty. And it's about making sure we don't let a potential locker room leader become a division enemy. I'm not saying Douglas is prime Revis. But I'm saying he's ours. And watching him go to Miami of all places, that's the kind of betrayal that gets remembered around here. So now, Bills Mafia, it's your turn. Let's talk about it. Should the Bills take a swing on CJ Mosley and bring him in to back up or even push Terrell Bernard? Would a reunion with Amari Cooper actually make sense, or has that ship sailed? Is it better to trust the youth movement, or do you want one more veteran at each spot to make a final Super Bowl push? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear from every single one of you. And don't forget, if you enjoyed this deep dive and want more exclusive news, hit that like button right now. Let's get this video to 1,000 likes, Bills Mafia style. Subscribe if you haven't already. We've got new content coming every week, from insider updates to player profiles and camp battles. The 2025 Bills are coming together, but the final pieces could still shake things up in a major way. Until next time, go Bills!